saying that Tim complains when we're not on time?
He even complains when we are on time. He starts like 2 minutes before it's time.
Yeah,
D.E.I. Martin is the only one in the chat right now. That's all I see.
if Tim's going to complain every single time we're not exactly on time,
he's got his job cut out for him.
Sometimes I think we're all on Keith's time.
oh yeah, blame the black man. Okay.
It's time for a little Funky Friday. From their funky hidden headquarters, your hosts, Keith and Gerry. Not Gerry.
I like that theme song. God, man, gets me bouncing. Happy Friday, everybody. It's a little time for a TGIF. Looks like D-Bud is the only person watching right now. It says 7 people are watching, but I suspect that some of those are us.
Wow.
But everybody will come flooding in a little bit here. So last week's episode was fun having Cameron on.
Mm-hmm.
I really have you figured it out yet what the animosity is that people have with him? I mean, he's gregarious, he's out there, he speaks his mind, but
I
don't
can't
know.
tell you.
I think
Don't have an issue with that. Speaking
that's
your
enough
mind.
recipe.
Yeah.
Well, it bothers me that some people they're dear friends of mine, have problems with him, and I'm like, what is going on? Because I just love Cameron. I think he's got a good heart. I
Yeah,
like
man,
that about him.
I feel you. I'm in the same position. My whole family, they just hate your guts, man. And I don't understand why. No.
Mildred likes me. Now stop that. That's not true.
Of course.
By the way, D-Bud, thank you. I am brought to you today by Theraflu.
Yeah, he's all drugged up.
E. Clay Thomason is here. Mr. 6 John Clark is here.
Is
And
that a
John
new
Clark,
one?
of course, is a character from Tom Clancy's books.
Yep.
He says, D.E.I. dies. It dies. And it really needs to. It needs to go away. Shouldn't be here. Shinatsky's in the audience. For some reason. Oh, I think he's working. That's why he can't be on the show.
He
Oh,
would
somebody
be if he
please.
wasn't working
Somebody put up his banner, please.
on it. There you go. It's the
But
only
I am
thing
feeling-
find that quick.
It's like the first night that this hit me, Debo, which was Monday night, and then Tuesday, pretty crappy.
Oh,
And
Monday
then
was
Wednesday, I woke up and I was fine. I just had the cough, and that's what this is for, is to help me with keep my cough productive. You don't ever want to have a dry, unproductive cough because I'm asthmatic and can cause problems. So staying alive, man, just like the song says, staying alive, staying alive.
Too much singing today.
There's never too much singing.
Well, if it was good singing, I'd agree, but
Oh,
Says the girl who's never sang for me.
nope.
And she's supposed to be a singer.
No.
I like Cameron too. I think they don't believe his sources because of the KK not retiring thing and the fact that it's hard to believe some of what he's reporting. Time will prove him right or wrong. It's the same thing with Mikey. I don't know if he's always going to be right or not, but I think the hatred is ridiculous. I'm not even sure because I watched last night's stream with Ethan Van Sciver, and some people just seem to really thrive on animosity and controversy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they just always got to be hating and going negative. And I don't feel that way. I really don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate Kathleen Kennedy, despise her as a human being. I think she's scum. But I don't want to spend all my time being negative. I just don't find any use in that. It just doesn't bring anything.
Well, for me, I personally don't hate Kathleen Kennedy. I just I'm still trying to process and understand a lot of what she's attempting to do, because a lot of it makes no sense. I can understand, on the one hand, wanting to fulfill parts of DEI, thinking that, hey, we got to bring in more people who have been underrepresented into the business. Great. I'm all for it. Do that. Okay. My problem with her is that a lot of the things that she says she wants to accomplish, she hasn't, and she's been in the position to do it. And given her experience that she continues to run on, I think it's pretty safe to say that she's done probably the worst job I have ever seen running a studio.
Absolutely. She has. And here's why we know that. Anybody else had screwed up like she had would have been fired immediately.
Immediately.
But we're in the land of DEI, and so they won't fire her.
I don't know, man.
Hey, Zax, he should join us today because he's got some really strong opinions on this. Zax, you should join us, man. Talk about this.
I think that there is room in the business to hear from diverse voices and people. There's room in the business to hear from people that we've normally or even traditionally not heard from, nor have an understanding of what they've done in the past. Okay. I think a lot of this has just gone a little bit too far, in so much as that I think some people are using this to just get rid of the competition and to clear the way for them to actually take more power sooner in their careers than they would have if things had been normal, quote unquote. Way too many people at Pixar. That is the whole of what J.J. Abrams and his group have been doing.
Right.
And I wouldn't be that out of sorts with it if, on the one hand, a lot of these people that were getting these positions were actually talented, and on the other hand, and I hate to be that guy, but it's almost like all of the worst, most offensive people who would be considered, even to a certain extent, slightly racist, are some of the people that are pushing it big time, because a lot of what they're producing is just borderline racist.
Borderline.
Well, they think they're being inclusive, but they're being racist, and now they're doing it.
That's exactly it. I mean, again, as I said earlier, if you're going to try to be inclusive and bring in more people, one would think that would have an effect on the types and subject matter of stories that you are wanting to make. And it's almost all become obsessive with taking stuff that already exists and changing it, and not putting emphasis on stories, characters, even figures throughout history that we don't know that much about. That's the thing that's how I really started to change a lot of this, because I'm looking at what they're producing, and there's barely any attempts to go out and adapt work by authors and women of color, to bring in people to create new sources of IP. It's all about taking what's already existed and changing it. Because in the end, it really does benefit those who have already created what they want to change. It's almost like it's lazy way of fighting discrimination. It's the bare minimum of what you can do, rather than actually going out and actually doing something. You know, my greatest criticism of Warner Brothers through DC's handling of what they've been doing is they completely allowed the entire milestone thing to drop. And here's a good example. I was with my youngest brother a couple days back, and what we had discussed on the show with Cameron and other things came up, and eventually we got onto the whole DEI thing. He had no idea that Milestone had came back. None. I'm relating stories about stuff that happened around the time that Justice League had come out, and telling him, oh yeah, Milestone came back. They had Reginald Hudlin. They had, and the whole thing about Michael B. Jordan wanting to join up and become a producer and to help Milestone cross over in the same way that DC and Marvel were crossing over and bringing their characters to life. And ultimately, Warner Brothers at that time was just, we didn't know how bad off they were behind the scenes. They did nothing to help Milestone. We still don't have an Icon movie. We don't have a Static movie. We don't have any of these characters out there. And then on the flip side, I was talking about the fact that, you know, everybody's, you know, you always have these people that want to go out and compare Marvel and DC, try to find different characters that, you know, either Marvel ripped off from DC, DC ripped off from Marvel. And Marvel has more than one Superman knockoff. If they really wanted to change how things are and bring in some amazing performers, they could have at least adapted the Blue Marvel and have done next. I mean, they're almost acting on their side like that character never existed. That to me is not only just wrong, it's really suspicious for a company that wants to elevate and bring forth people of color and women to act like the Blue Marvel never existed. And if not for Kevin Graveau or comic book fans who remember the character, hardly anybody would seemingly that came in with the MCU and knew all that stuff would know who that character was, if it wasn't for shows like ours or people that would come on and occasionally mention the character. Michael B. Jordan would have been perfect playing any versions of any one of those characters. Personally, I always thought he'd be a better Icon. Despite J.J. Abrams narrowly just looking at things and doing a quote-unquote black Superman and not thinking of using any of the black Supermen that already existed within DC Comics, let alone Icon himself. It's a money thing. If J.J. Abrams were truly about all the stuff that he keeps saying, he and his wife keep saying that they're about, there'd be a Val-Zod Superman out right now. Right now. And there isn't. There just isn't. And again, I hear from people who try to defend this, but the fact of the matter is we're getting ready to release a sequel to Joker. You're telling me that in the time that it has taken for Joker to be released, win all these awards, make all this money, negotiating a sequel, and we're going to get that sequel, and it being a musical, you're telling me we couldn't come up with one? That neither DC and definitely not Marvel Studios could find their own Black Superman character.
No.
BS. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now. But
yeah, I was like, oh, good Lord. I was about to say, amen, brother.
Keith
Hallelujah. Can I
look
get a
good
witness?
on your box?
Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness?
It's the day of rants today.
Well, I mean, but you guys have heard me over the years say stuff, and occasionally I will dip into this. This is a sore point with me. I'm all about wanting to increase characters of color because growing up reading comic books, it's great to see that stuff. But for Marvel to do what they are doing and acting like they got nothing. I mean, Sentry, right? Okay, we're gonna go with Sentry. That's fine. It's great. Although you could have gone with the blue Marvel and actually just literally had a black Superman.
Yeah.
And they avoided it. And so there's only two things I can think of. Either it had something to do with money, which, okay, you're saying that, having representation, people of color, if you're in the middle saying that, then not having this character because of money, that kind of looks bad. Or you don't know who the character is. Okay, we'll go with that one. Let's play that one out. Oh, there's a Marvel character that you guys didn't know that you have. You guys are Marvel. You should know this stuff.
Yeah, it's like they don't even know their own IPs, man. So this whole episode today got started because this article right here over on Film Threat, not by our buddy Chris Gore. This is written by anonymous screenwriter. I don't know why. I can't help but wonder if it's script doctor.
It could be about anybody, but that isn't.
But give us a breakdown, because I haven't had a chance to read the whole article. I only read the first part.
Well, you know what? I think we should just read parts of the article because
You want to?
Yeah, because a lot of it is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, the way this is written, it is definitely someone who has had firsthand knowledge and seeing how Hollywood has changed over these last few years. And it's a little worrisome if you're someone that's actually in the business. Okay? Again, if I were in Hollywood right now, they would like me, but they wouldn't love me because I'm too old. Everybody they're talking about benefiting through a lot of this stuff just happens to be somebody or
You're
anybody.
just not part of the demographic they give a shit about.
Yeah. Anybody under the age of 30, basically, is what they want. So you're expecting to keep the high quality of the MCU going with people who are way too young to know the full history of Marvel Comics unless they were an actual comic book fan. Yet you've already passed rules, even within Marvel and other places, that you can't be fans of the actual material, because if you are, that prohibits you from being able to properly search for storylines and stuff that could actually work in their minds. And you'd be too restricted by the things that have come before. Okay? I call that a dumbass thought.
It is pretty much.
It is a dumbass thought. It's like, so you want fans of these characters and IPs to pay for the privilege of going to the movies or to spend time watching this either on streaming or network TV. But you're going to make sure that everything you present to them is from people that don't know this stuff. Wow. You're ripping people off, technically. You're ripping fans off because you know for a fact you're not going to give them what you seem to be trying to tell them you want to give them.
Pretty much.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Anyway, oh, man.
I need to answer Cal's question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You and I have both worked. You've worked in television and film. Just so you know, there's a whole section on me for the stuff I've worked in. I've worked in film since '97. There's also this other shocker, a Wikipedia page dedicated to me because of some of the stuff I've done, Cal. So we actually know what we're talking about. We work in the industry. I work in the film, publishing, and comic industries. So, and I'm assuming that's why you asked.
Yeah, he's Googled you.
You find a lot of stuff I've worked on.
Oh, yeah.
My first gig while I was still in the Army was Star Trek. So, Keith, do you want to read this article or you want me to read it?
I'm trying to find a copy of the article, and it doesn't seem to want to come up on my system. So,
Oh, if you're on Chrome, it's got a problem.
Yeah,
For
I have
some
the same
reason,
problem.
Film Threat and Chrome don't get along. You need to
okay.
use Firefox or one of the other ones. Here, I'll give you the
I
link in
was trying
private.
to read it, and I
Okay.
got blocked by fucking cookie pop-ups. I got so annoyed.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll let you read it because you're the one who sent it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Here we go. So, everyone, as Gerry had set up, there's a veteran screenwriter who wrote into Film Threat after...
I need to ask Script Doctor if it was him. I need to ask him. I won't tell you guys because otherwise he wouldn't have used the word anonymous if it was him.
Film Threat as run currently by Chris Gore and Alan Ng. And Alan's review of Wish basically shook loose a lot of stuff. If you've never saw that, you should check that out sometime. Read it. You can literally hear a dedicated Disney fan's heart break during that review. I mean, Alan Ng was the epitome of being a Disney fan. And I got to say, I was right there with him, you know. But because of that, it has led to people getting in contact with them. And one of those people wrote this. And so I will now read it. Anonymous. I know many showrunners who hate this, not because they didn't want to hire new writers and foster them. They didn't want half their staff coming from a pool of young, inexperienced writers who knew nothing about working in a writer's room, production, post, or deadlines. Got to remember, this Hollywood stuff, this is me talking now. You got to remember, this is not a game. This is a business. Okay? Is this illegal? Probably, but hey, I'm not an attorney. And there's no way to find out anyway, because if you ask any questions about this, you'll be labeled a racist or called out for your white male privilege. If you are...
Yeah, Keith, watch out.
I know I'm bad about that. If you so much as raise an eyebrow, there's a risk you'll never work again. That's why this is anonymous. This may be obvious at first glance. There sure seem to be a lot of white dudes at the Golden Globes, right? Well, this doesn't impact the top 2% of writers, showrunners, and directors, since they're in the rarefied air where they get to work no matter what. It's those of us with decades of experience working on some of your favorite TV shows and films that are now sitting on the sidelines waiting. No institution reinforces this more than the WGA. One glance at their monthly calendar of events shows a Latinx Writers Committee meeting, an LGBTQ plus Writers Committee meeting, a Committee of Black Writers meeting, a Middle Eastern Writers Committee meeting, a Women's Writers Committee meeting, and an Asian American Writers Committee meeting, to name just a few. Can you imagine if there was a White Writers Committee meeting? We might be murdered. And the saddest part of all of this is that most of the people who would fill that room are some of the most liberal people I know. People who have gone out of their way to foster new and unique voices. Check out the WGA's own 2022 Inclusion and Equity Report and make sure your conclusion on the WGA's priorities on this. When creating a writer's profile on the WGA website, there is one box to check if you're a heterosexual, 3 choices under transgendered, and 6 under LGBTQ. Not sure what those statistics have to do with writing a great episode of The Witcher. This mindset was very present at the last in-house WGA meeting held before the strike of 2023. Every 3 years, before we have a new deal with the studios, the negotiating committee sits on a stage and members throw their complaints at them. God bless them, they sit there for hours on and listen to a bunch of writers bitch and moan, like I'm doing. The complaints at these meetings over the last 2 decades are always the same. How do we get more money and more residuals? In 2023, the meeting had a decidedly different tone. Very few complaints had to do money this time around. There was a litany of complaints about not enough diversity in the ranks. Young writers asking, how come I've worked for 2 years as a writer and I'm not a showrunner yet? Let me take a moment out here. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. 2
I mean,
years? 2 years writing?
I
It's
mean,
kindergarten.
to explain it, that would be like a freshman coming into high school and expecting to have graduated by the end of their sophomore year. No.
That's not how it works. You start small, you gain experience, you work your way up to the top. It's not given to you like that.
Anybody that is able to accomplish that without the quote unquote smarts for that, let me know what college you went to. Seriously, because oh gosh. Anyway, let me get back to this because I'm about to
Wait, kid. They are worthy of the segment of Bender in Futurama saying, "Oh, you're serious? Let me laugh even louder."
Go ahead. Let's see. Okay. How come I've worked for 2 years as a TV writer and I'm not a showrunner yet? A position that should take at least a decade of experience, if not 2, to reach. How do we make sure that the guild will fight for staffing requirements? I always thought that to survive in this business, it's a yearly, monthly, daily hustle. There are no guarantees, especially when it comes to staffing on a TV show. That's part of what you sign up for, kids, when you're in that business. You tell them.
God approves.
Yes, I really agree with you, Keith.
Anyway, let's see. Let's get to the rest of the letter. Okay. What I took away from last night is that these young Turks think working in film and TV is just a fun thing that anyone can do, and they can use this opportunity to put their stamp on the world. Can you blame them? It was easy to get here, especially when talent takes backseat to fitting a quota. Why worry? The showrunner and their number one, the most experienced writer and producer outside the showrunner, will pick up the slack and more than likely finish your insipid work. They can't complain about that episode you turned in late and didn't turn in at all, or they'll be called a racist or bigot or something else. And when they get a call from HR, it's just easier to shut up and run for cover for these kids who aren't ready for the big time. We call that youth armor. A lot of y'all have that. A lot of y'all think you got that until, in the real world, you walk out there and somebody slaps you down, which is the way it should work. Okay? A little side note. When you see stuff in the MCU, people like Tony Stark really don't exist. Hate to break it to you. Doesn't work like that. He's a fictional character. Anyway, back to the letter. The blame for this mess is threefold. Young creative execs with no understanding of the business or what audiences want gained too much influence during the streaming wars. Heck yes. That explains Paramount, CBS mainly. They also took it upon themselves to lead the charge in reinterpreting IP, changing successful comic books, novels, and remakes into projects that had something to say, not to entertain. Why even bother with IP if you don't respect the source material? The WGA followed their lead and threw a huge part of their own membership under the bus in a race to bring in new members. And lastly, this new class of writers who weren't ready yet to step up to the plate, worked on a lot of product that the general public didn't want to see and didn't relate to. What happens next is anyone's guess. TV is contracting. There were 600 TV shows in the last year, and now there are only going to be, from what I hear, 300. When it comes to film, there are even fewer jobs than ever. If we don't get back to telling great stories and making profitable shows and movies, with AI right around the corner, the business may never recover. So let's start having those old school meetings again, the ones where you talk about story and character and what the audience wants. And let's go back to hiring the best writers, the ones with the skill set and creativity, and not just one with the right skin color or sexual preference. If you are a WGA member, who would you like to share your story on or off the record? Contact us. And that was from Film Threat themselves at the end of the letter. So there you go. And when you get a chance, side note, check out Film Threat's The D.E.I. A lot of that touches on many of the things brought up in that letter. And it gives you a nice behind the scenes of how Disney got off track. So what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, this is always kind of spiced into like a seasoning into almost everything we ever talk about is this problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, again, if you've been paying attention over the last 10 to 12 years, yes, this is definitely a problem. Now, I will say this. This is a problem that needed to be talked about, but the actual working solutions or the ways that have been gone about to try to help solve the problem the cure is even worse than the disease at this point. You're killing the industry. You know, there are a lot of very talented people who are just sitting off to the side, basically doing nothing. And I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Gore, when he's made his various appearances, will tell you, in his opinion, all of this means that independent projects, independent film mainly, this is actually a good thing. Because now a lot of these talented people can go off and actually do their own thing. And I'm telling you right now, while that's good for them, it's bad for everything else in terms of streaming, television, and films overall, as far as the mainstream stuff. You're losing a lot of talented people, which means we're going to have to suffer for the next 20 years as a lot of these kids try to work their S out and get better. And they're going to be
right now, currently, we have 3 Kasdans working in the industry, and only 2 of them are talented.
Oh, but a bum. Well, on top of that, you got the people like, for instance, Lauren Histrich and her writers for The Witcher. You guys just basically took the potential for doing nothing but printing money, and you flushed it down the toilet because you
of diversity.
You want to be an activist. And I know that Lauren taking to social media to try to beg people to come back wasn't really,
and to talk shit about Henry Cavill.
Yeah, it wasn't really in your original plans to do that. You probably, she probably just thought that people would just naturally show up. No. To have any kind of success, you almost have to be superstitious. It's like being a sports fan. Your team's doing really well, and some of the most superstitious people are sports fans whose teams are successful. You always run into that one person that has that ritual where they can only wear that one clean sock and they have to keep the other one dirty, like the one that they were wearing when they first won the win. Stuff like that.
Right.
Hey, there are people that do that. I'm serious. Okay? It's weird like that. But I'm just, it's messed up. All of this is just messed up. It shouldn't be like this. If you really want to get good at something, that means you have to first learn from people who know what they're doing. Learning does not mean that you know everything after 2 years. Back when I was in high school, there was a lot of stuff starting to come about where they were trying to get people to get back into mentoring programs. And it definitely sounds like we need that in this country, especially in Hollywood. Learning from someone who's been in the business for years. Do you actually
look at how Spielberg came into the business?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Great example. He did a lot of mentoring.
Yes.
Well, was mentored.
He was mentored. And look at what happened with him. It's going to take you more than 2 years to learn everything you need to know. So if you're one of those people that thinks, oh, this is all easy, that's fine. You think you can do this on your own? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would rather just work on their own stuff than deal with your silly ass. But, okay, didn't mean to curse right there. But it's just that it's frustrating to look at the content that is being produced and to be so up your own ass as to not recognize that what you're producing is total unmitigated crap.
But they don't want to listen to people. They don't want to be told how to do things. But this is how learning works.
Yes, it is exactly how learning works. Look, a lot of these kids need to realize, you went to school because society needed you to learn something. Because if it was going to be that easy, we just let you guys wild into the streets. But you had to go to school so you could learn a few things. I mean, the basic thing about education is, let me put this in a way that a lot of these young writers and stuff can understand. Life is one long movie. You guys arriving is not the beginning of the movie. This is an ongoing film. You guys are dropping into the middle of the plot. Going to school helps you to understand everything that you need to know as to what happened before you got here.
It's funny you say that because that fits right into a film that I'm going to introduce Anima to.
Okay.
That we're going to do on a Saturday called Sicario.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
And the main character, as you watch the film, seems to be the female. And you're watching the film, you're watching her bumble around, trying to figure things out, suspecting there's something else going on, only to learn as we go into the third act that she's not the protagonist. Del Toro's the protagonist of the story.
She was the useful idiot.
Yeah, she's a tool being used by the two other characters to achieve what they're trying to do, which is it is a revenge movie. And your central character is Del Toro's character, who is out to avenge the murders of his wife and daughter.
Family.
Yeah, they were murdered. A horrible death of his family. When you find out what it was, holy shit, I'd want to kill somebody. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The daughter was dipped in acid.
Oh.
And I don't want to go any further next. I don't want to ruin the plot for Anima. But oh my
you
God, what a
spoiled
movie.
it. Already.
You already
But
did.
the whole thing is, though, is this fits what you're saying about these people think they're the central character, like her character thought she was, when in fact, it's the person doing things around you, without you noticing what they're doing. That's the person who's really in charge.
And that's the reason why they can't write Doctor Who. I mean, the Doctor knows way more than he ever reveals. In fact, there's a lot of things that he's done that helps get to the character of who the Doctor actually is.
Right.
The thing that they missed with Jodie is that you weren't dealing in the way they wrote those scripts. Her performance was not of someone that had been around for a long time. Now, I had no problems with Jodie Whittaker as a person, as an actress. I think she's really good. I thought that she could have been a great Doctor if she had had better writing. But she wasn't allowed to have that. And so you got what you got. The current Doctor is also suffering from that. But his complex, his sin seems to be he's so freaking full of himself. And it makes it unbearable to watch. This guy is a modern sensibility idiot, is how I would really tell people that he's like. You can't just suddenly go, well, I've absolved myself of everything I've done in life. Oh, it's easy like that? Oh, okay. You take great characters like J.R. Ewing, who doesn't regret anything. It's part of the reason why he's the way he is.
I'd like to take a
go ahead.
I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge look who's with us here in the chat.
Hey, John, we missed you.
Missed you, buddy.
Dearly. We miss you dearly.
You could take other characters, like, for instance, here's a good one. Since a lot of young people out there think that, they're preparing to be great writers working under Joss Whedon. If you took the character of Angel and suddenly had him go one day, you know what, I've absolved myself of all my past sins. That changes the character, right?
Yeah.
It's a character that is burdened with all of the things that he's done in his past. That's the reason why the character is the way that he is. You take that away. I hate to quote Star Trek V. You can't take that away. It's his pain. He needs his pain. Well, we all need our pain. You need that. In life,
it's funny.
Go ahead.
You bring that up, and I just want to point out another film I just introduced Anima to today, Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, after he's tortured, where Zell drills into his teeth, torturing him.
Yeah.
At the end of the film, he throws away the painkiller. And he licks his teeth, and you realize he's adopted the pain.
Mm-hmm.
You need the pain.
Yeah.
And that just reminded me of that.
On his mission.
Exactly. I need this. It'll help me.
Yeah. And there are a lot of characters that are written like that. Look, I'm sure Michael Corleone could have done without all that pain. But the pain it's what made him who he is. It's kept him and his family alive. Not one of these young people today could have written something like The Godfather. If they had tried adapting that book, it would have been a whole different experience.
And what's amazing is between Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola, they made a better movie than the book was.
Yes. Yes. You need to live life so that you could write characters that have lives.
By the way, Monkey Diva says that was David Greenwalt, not Joss Whedon.
You're right. That was David Greenwalt. And I apologize because David Greenwalt Yeah, amazing. Although I also think that Whedon had a hell of a writer's room collectively. They didn't know everything in the beginning, but by the time they were done, what everybody that had worked as writers on Buffy, what they eventually left to go do, all the other projects and stuff they did. I mean, it was a magical group of people. Where else could you have gone where you were given all these opportunities to do all this amazing stuff, to write episodes where characters don't even use dialogue, or to write a musical episode, or on Angel to do an episode where your lead character becomes a puppet?
I love that episode.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the 5th season of Angel is the most incredible, most varied, and in my opinion, the most entertaining, because there's so many different stories that they're able to tell, even though the overall story arc is taking you down this road. And it's just an amazing job. If you really want to do that, do that. But you got to learn how to do it first. You can't just skip to the get part because you're getting sick and tired of waiting. That's not life. I did not teach my kids to do that. You got to learn something. You got to know something in this world. I don't care if it's Hollywood. I don't care if it's politics, medicine. Most importantly, a lot of you idiots, I'm at least glad, are in medicine right now. I would not want to deal with you guys skipping ahead. How come I'm not head resident by now, even though I've been here 2 years? Wow. Anyway, I also want to make sure to go over this part, because there is a history to this. This is not a new thing, okay? DEI policy actually emerged from affirmative action in the United States, which is the legal term. Affirmative action which was first used in the executive order number 10925, signed by President John F. Kennedy on the 6th of March, 1961. It includes a provision that government contractors take affirmative action to ensure that applicants are employed and employees are treated fairly during employment, without regard to their race, creed, color, or national origin. It was used to promote actions that achieved non-discrimination. In September of 1965, President Lyndon Johnson issued Executive Order 11246, which required government employers to hire without regard to race, religion, and national origin, and take affirmative action to ensure that applicants are employed and that employees are treated during employment without regard to their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Neither executive order nor the Civil Rights Act authorized group preferences. The Senate floor manager of the bill, Senator Hubert Humphrey, declared that the bill would prohibit preferential treatment for any particular group, adding,
I love Hubert Humphrey, man.
Adding, I will eat my hat if this leads to racial quotas. Ding, ding, ding. Dinner served. Anyway,
and it did exactly that. And of course, this is all signed by one of the most racist presidents since what's his name from World War I, who was he hated black people so much that they had already desegregated the military, and he resegregated it during World War I, and that lasted until the end of World War II. What he did.
However, affirmative action in practice.
Woodrow Wilson.
Affirmative action in practice would eventually become synonymous with preferences, goals, and quotas, as upheld or struck down by Supreme Court decisions, even though no law had been passed explicitly permitting discrimination in favor of disadvantaged groups. Some state laws explicitly banned racial preferences, and in response, some laws have failed attempting to explicitly legalize race preferences. Had lots of ups and downs, kids. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, usually abbreviated DEI, refers to organizational frameworks which seek to provide the fair treatment and full participation of all people, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subject to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability. These three notions, diversity, equity, and inclusion, together represent three closely linked values which organizations seek to institutionalize through DEI frameworks. Some experts say diversity and inclusion should be decoupled in some cases. Some frameworks, primarily in Britain, substitute the notion of equity with equality. Equality, diversity, inclusion, EDI.
Equity is scary communist stuff, man.
Other variations include diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, DEIB, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, JEDI or EDIJ, or diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, IDEA, DEIA, or DEAI. Diversity refers to the presence of variety within the organizational workforce, such as in identity, i.e. gender, culture, ethnicity, religion, disability, class, etc., age, or opinion. Equity refers to concepts of fairness and justice, such as fair compensation. More specifically, equity usually also includes a focus on societal disparities and allocating resources and decision-making authority to groups that have historically been disadvantaged, and taking into consideration a person's unique circumstances, adjusting treatment accordingly so that the end result is equal. Finally, inclusion refers to creating an organizational culture that creates an experience where all employees feel their voices will be heard and a sense of belonging and integration. DEI is most often used to describe certain training efforts, such as diversity training. Though DEI is best known as a form of corporate training, it also finds implementation within many types of organizations, such as within academia, schools, and hospitals. In recent years, DEI efforts and policies have generated criticism, some directed at the specific effectiveness of its tools, such as diversity training, its effect on free speech and academic freedom, as well as more broadly attracting criticism on political or philosophical grounds. Wow. Basically, what started out as, at least with the people that were attempting this as something good, I think has over time been corrupted. And the way it is being used currently within the entertainment industry, I think is just another tool by certain people, certain businesses to basically upend the current status quo of the entertainment industry and to replace it with young, useful idiots. Oh, I'm sorry. With people who need more experience. Period.
I like what K. Roberts is saying here.
The mantra of diversity up to the late 90s was to blind institutions to attributes outside of merit. Now it's flipped to active pursuit of the opposite. Well, okay. See, Tim says, I read that the government, wants to have for the FFA hiring people with severe intellectual disabilities. Well,
Yep.
that's not a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Nope. No one's going to die from that.
Anyway, look, it's hard to. The entertainment industry really is about people who provide a service for pay. You know, can they entertain you and separate you from your money and really from time? You know, time is very valuable. With the way things are going right now, let's just say I think libraries are about to become an in thing again.
Yeah, because these guys are making is something to transport their message. They give zero fucks about what the audience wants to see. They don't care about entertainment. It's all about the agenda. So of course they're going to lose audience. They're damaging themselves by that. And they don't see it.
That's true. It used to be that, especially when you had the fight for civil rights, it was understanding what needed to happen and everybody being in agreement of where they wanted to go, with a thought towards the audience out there and people who might not be in favor of their position, and trying to find ways of convincing them, hey, this is something that I think you would really be interested in and that you should join up with us to help change things. This current group has no thought towards that. They don't give a care. They're wanting to do this no matter what. Basically, they're forcing us to go down this way. So anyone that basically isn't in favor of right think, it's screw you time. And that's where we are. It's unfortunate because it's really going to stop a lot of people from achieving anything. And speaking directly to a lot of the youthful writers out there, you know who you are if you know that you don't have anything to really give over. If you're not that bright, in a room full of very creative people, it's pretty easy to figure out who's got the goods and who doesn't. It's just like in sports. It's just like in sports. Everybody on a team, you know who the most talented player or players are. That is not about an opinion. That is a fact. So you got to do what you can do to at least stay on the team and achieve. Because then it's about, you know, the awards and accolades as a group. But you're never going to be able to achieve very much if you just continue to think that you can just turn people away, kick people out, and that everybody's just going to fall in line because you're you. You know, and as Bill Maher likes to say, this is a byproduct, really, of an entire generation of kids who basically were given just awards for just showing up.
Yep. Well, you look back, Keith, because you and I, we use the word woke, but the fact is you and I are typically considered woke for what we were, because we grew up on Sesame Street, Zoom, and Electric Company.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw things about equality, not equity, equality.
Mm-hmm.
You saw something about everybody deserves the exact same chance to succeed or fail.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, but something's happened to the today youth, and not just the youth. I see old people with purple hair, and I'm just like, oh Jesus, with the blue and purple hair. Come on. And they're out there just talking rubbish about stuff they know nothing about, and it's all about equity for them. Yeah. It has nothing to do with being able to achieve something for someone, because one of the most important things is teaching people how to struggle. Every writer has to struggle. Every mechanic has to struggle. D. Bud Martin said something earlier. I've been with my company for 25 years. Why am I not the CEO?
Yeah.
Well, is that what you wanted to achieve? Because if you wanted to achieve that, then you needed to go to school and do the things that were necessary to become a CEO. And they're trying to take that all away. It's sort of like, let's go back to Alex Kurtzman, because we've been talking about that guy for a while. And that guy failed upward constantly because he was the last one standing.
Yes.
Last rat standing, as James Bond would say in that terrible movie, Skyfall. Last rat standing. And he would succeed because other people were fired or quit. And he would end up taking their place.
Well, mysteriously, you would find that certain people would end up having problems, issues with those above them, and mysteriously lose their jobs. And suddenly, Alex would be there to pick up the slack and move onward. And look, the thing about Alex Kurtzman is that he truly is the very definition of someone who has no original ideas, but is loved by he's loved by the executives because he brings in and gives them ways of achieving what they want, meaning money in terms of what he was able to accomplish. That's the only reason why he was allowed to work with Star Trek, because Les Moonves thought it was too expensive to have a Star Trek series. And he went out, he being Kurtzman, went out and found people that would invest in what he was wanting to do. He convinced Les Moonves to give him a shot and co-opted an original idea into what is now known as Star Trek Discovery, or as I like to call it, the flaming ball of shite.
If Les Moonves had stuck around and not been fired, he would have fired Alex Kurtzman.
No, I don't think so.
I think so, because they weren't making money, and that's all he's ever been about.
True. That is all he's ever. But I don't think by the time all that happened, I think Les Moonves left because he had to. A lot of executives were changing, and a lot of these younger executives who have all these weird beliefs, there was no room for Les Moonves to stay. His time was coming, and given what was going on on the West Coast, and the fact that you had the whole Harvey Weinstein stuff starting to become an issue, I think he chose a really good time to just dip out. He just like, I'm gone.
Yeah, emptying drawers into boxes, taking things that don't belong to him, that's just in the office. Towels, shit like that.
Well, he decided to make it look like he was going to comfortably take the stairs before he was forced to take the window. So,
all right. And the thing with him though is still, if he had stuck around with the way he ran business,
yes,
Alex Kurtzman would have been fired.
Oh gosh, yes. When you lose money, when you lose money, the people who gave you that money aren't usually very happy about that. And in the case of Netflix, they weren't happy about it because they realized they got took. Star Trek Discovery was one of the worst things Netflix ever had in the history of Netflix outside of North America. And again, for those of you who like to defend that show, let me repeat that. It is the worst series that Netflix ever had outside of North America. Okay? That show did not do very well. It just didn't, and continues to not do well. In fact, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Stop looking online and really just look at all the places around town where you used to see Star Trek merchandise. I used to be able to go to different comic book shops. I'd go to places like Target or Walmart. You could find Trek merchandise. Nowadays, you can't find any of that stuff. It's next to impossible. And anything you do find probably wasn't there 2 or 3 years prior to that. They have been doing a lot of work to try to at least struggle to get certain shops to carry a lot of that merchandising. And they usually do it in conjunction with other things. Nobody wants Star Trek Discovery merchandise, period. That version of Star Trek is dead. It's about as dead can be. It's so dead. It's so dead. I expect the cast of Walking Dead to be the new crew of the Discovery. That's how dead that show is.
Yeah, we need to do this. We need to, like, everybody in unison do the Johnny Carson thing. Like, how dead is it? It's so dead.
You know what you need to do? Run or beautiful ad.
Run the ad.
It is. It's 105. Do it, buddy.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
I really do like that song, man.
Yeah, me too. Dude, this is the way to do it. Parrothead, learn from this.
Yes, that's a proper breed. By the way, guys, it's a pity that you can't see what we can see in the back office while the video is playing. Keith came on camera and did a little dance. It was fun.
I had to put the camera on just to let Cal know I like that. I was smiling at that comment. It was good.
Play the man his video.
You do it. You're in charge of that. It's your job.
He deserves it.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
What
What are you?
wrong? I'm gonna go check the back door. Back door.
I'm going to read some of the starred comments. First one here is Don. All generations of Star Trek and of Star Wars and of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are among my honorable mention entertainment franchises as well. So that was into something you said, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Tim says, true story. My parents went to the Wilson house. Oh, President Wilson. They asked at the beginning of the tour there what one would describe Wilson. My dad wanted to say racist because he was.
Well, Wilson.
You know what he's famous for, right? Other than segregating the military, for inviting, what's his name? The director of Birth of a Nation.
Oh, yeah.
Premiere his movie about the KKK in the White House.
In the White House.
There.
Well, that's not the only thing. He also set it up. The League of Nations, also led by Wilson, pretty much set it up so that eventually they guaranteed that we were going to eventually have World War II. By basically setting up Germany to pay everybody's debts from the war, pretty much guaranteed.
That was France and England. They get all the blame for that one.
Oh, God, those guys. F those guys. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And by the way, Penny's here. So hi, Penny. Let's see. Cal says, I've mysteriously lost jobs for asking for more money.
Wow. Yeah, mysteriously, right?
Yeah. Monkey Jeebus says that Alex Kurtzman gave Les Moonves cocaine.
Oh, that's the secret?
And D. Bud Martin says Mexican Ironman always takes the window. And of course, Zax is in accordance. He's agreeing with me that Skyfall. It really was. It was a very bad film. It had some good ideas, and then just kind of like it flummoxed me. That it's like, so wait a minute. He does all this micromanagement planning for an assault on a courthouse, and he also, by the way, knows exactly when that train was going to be going where it needed to go to derail and crash through the ceiling.
Yep.
It just had some that were eye-poppingly cool, but when you think about the logics and the logistics of it, it was just moronic.
Yeah.
It's like, what were you thinking? Best part of that movie is just a song, really, by Adele. But I also get mad at it because that's when they slowed down the opening themes. And then every song after that has been a fucking slow song. And it's like, each one needs to be different. Don't do that. And
that's because
I gotta say the shootout in the abandoned manor was nice.
Yeah, at the Bond family home, I love the shootout. But I agree with you, Gary. To have this Bond villain go through all of this just to set it up for a courtroom
where a shootout in a courthouse, just dumb.
It's just like there are many different places that you could have chosen to just try to take her out, and it's like, we're gonna do it in the courthouse. Okay, well,
he need the courthouse, he need the train, and a tiny zebra.
I think Skyfall is a good movie, but with a lot of poor parts to it. And as Bond villains,
I'd say an okay film. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's good.
It's one of the worst.
It's problematic villains to be good, in my opinion.
Yeah. It is difficult to come up with good Bond villains, but given the amount of information that he had, and that was his plan. I mean, somebody that used to work really high up and had access. I mean, look, I will say I agree with you. Had Bond been the villain, Bond was a very dangerous villain. No, I'm serious. Given what the villain's job was, and when you find out who he used to be, do you think Bond could have come up with a better plan had he been the villain? He would have made it so that nobody really could figure out who did it. He's that smart.
Yeah. It just in the end, it didn't look like he really planned anything.
Yeah, that's
the real plan, and it was dumb. And I'm not going to argue with you because it's not really a Bond movie. The only two Bond films, and I know people don't like the second film, but for me, it was the conclusion of the first film. I forgot what the second film was called.
Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace. All Quantum of Solace was the ending.
Yeah,
the ending for the first part. It doesn't act as a standalone film. It's connected to the first film in every way.
Yeah,
and so therefore it's a continuation of the first film.
All of Daniel Craig's
two I liked.
All of Daniel Craig's films are connected. It's really one big story. And the thing is that Bond, the further they got into those stories, he starts going from being James Bond to just being very emo. Emo
Bond. My name is Bond. Emo Bond.
but I mean, think about it. All of that stuff was okay. I'm in love with this woman now, and I'm gonna chase her all over, and we're gonna live together now, and I find out she lied to me about something, and it becomes this whole CW plot. I mean, the final film he's in, that's all CW plot filling.
Yeah.
And
and you and I don't like CW writing. They're just the worst out there.
But a majority of people who are doing all of these problems right now in Hollywood, that's what they grew up with. That's what they consider to be good writing for them, is all of the CW writing. And this is what you face in as far as the future of entertainment goes, both in terms of film and television, is people who actually think all that CW writing is good. Look, I'm a guy of a certain age, so I really don't have to deal too much with these freaks. but with these people. But anybody under the age of 30, more power to you, because you're going to need it, especially to my kids, because I made sure my kids had a very healthy, well-balanced understanding of things in terms of books and novels. I mean, yeah, I'm a geek and everything, but I wanted them to have a very balanced way of looking at things. And classic novels are a way to go. If you really want to understand how society got to where it is as far as entertainment and other things, read the actual books that are the basis for many very intelligent jokes and put downs that you see in a lot of movies. If you love scary movies, hey, why not just read a lot of classic literature? Read Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
scary movies?
Read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Read Frankenstein. Read Dracula. Don't just watch people's varied takes on that stuff. Read it. Find out where it all comes from. You could probably do better. And at least my youngest daughter, after reading Dracula, I think it cured her of any interest she ever had in Twilight. So, but that's what we need. A revolution in quality entertainment. And I think if you're someone right now who, after going through film school, still believes in some dark corner of your brain that after having been there 2 years that you actually deserve to be either a showrunner or running a division, not only was that pretty much one of the worst things your parents ever helped you pay for, but you're an idiot. You are an idiot. You should probably I was going to say you should probably consider just working at McDonald's, but I don't even hate McDonald's that much. It's just that.
And I want to interject because it just remembered something from what King's Porkal said earlier. I've been fired from jobs. And every single time I got fired, I told this to Anima the other day. Every single time I got fired was because of my mouth. Because I said something I shouldn't have said.
Hey,
is anyone really surprised by that? I don't think so.
I mean, the first time I ever got fired was from Taco Bell. It was a brand new restaurant because they had just moved Taco Bell to Fredericksburg, Virginia. And I was kind of excited I got to work there. But it was also when I left home. My dad, we got into a fight and I moved out. And so I moved all the way across town, was living with my buddy Charlie. Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to figure out, because the first day I went to work, I had to walk from my apartment and I was late, my dad's apartment. And then I moved all the way across town and I was late the second day and I apologized for it. And then the third day, I still ended up being a few minutes late, just 2 or 3 minutes late. It wasn't very long. But either way it goes, I was trying to figure out when I needed to leave home to get to work and walk all the way to work. And on the last one, I'm like, okay, I've got this. I need to leave 20 minutes early to get to work on time. So I saw Clarence, the manager, and Clarence talks like Eddie Murphy as a white guy. He talks just like this. He looked like a skinny Dan Aykroyd, and he had a voice just like this. And so I walked up to him, and before you could tell he had a speech. He was ready to give me a speech. And I took the wind out of his sails by apologizing. I said, this is my fault, and I apologize. It won't happen again. It's my third day on the job, and I've been late 3 days. I said, I moved, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I've got it figured out now. I need to leave 20 minutes early to get here on time, and I will never be late again. I apologize, and I hope you accept. That it could have ended there, but it didn't. He was frustrated because he wanted to say something to me, and I stopped him from being able to say it because what's he going to say? I apologize. I owned it. I owned my mistake. And instead he decides to go, well, you just need to take your job more seriously. And I'm standing there with a paper hat on, a paper apron, and I'm holding an aluminum boat oar, stirring refried beans in a vat on the floor. It's an actual aluminum boat oar for a canoe. And I'm standing there with it, stirring this refried beans, and I chuckled. And Could have ended it right there, but no, that bothered him that I chuckled when he said that. And he said, "What's so funny?" And I said, "Oh, just the image of you saying I need to take the job more seriously. I'm standing here in a paper hat, paper apron, stirring refried beans, not first fried beans, second fried beans with an aluminum boat oar." And his response to that was, "If that's the way you feel, just go ahead and clock out and don't come back." And it took me a moment, and I went, "Oh, you're serious? Oh, okay." And he fired me. That was it. I was out.
Wow.
What an idiot.
Wow.
And all of them that fired Gerry kicked him out.
Of
There you go.
course.
Give him a video. That was good.
That was too good to not put it out.
Open your back door, baby. Loosen your hinges, I'll show you my key.
I remember when I got fired from Wagner Metal Arts. That job, I was 18. That job meant a lot to me. It was a real art foundry. We did bronze statues for famous artists. And I loved working there. And I was one of their mold makers, and I was one of their senior wax guys. And I'm 18 years old, man. And I'm doing this stuff for a living, making decent money. But I made a mold of Virginia's late Governor Belial. I did the mold of the statue by Wendy Ross. And I accidentally, in the rubber, I got an air bubble underneath his right earlobe. And I went, "Oh, I thought I planned it correctly, and it didn't. I screwed up." And I owned it. I was just down, and I was upset over what happened. And like, we're going to have to fix every single casting of this bust manually. And you don't want that. It's bad. It's rough enough because you get a seam line from the mold, and you got to clean that up in the wax. But now we got to fix this fucking bubble under his ear. And I'm just so embarrassed by it. I was embarrassed. That was the biggest thing, embarrassed. And one of the owners of the company, Mike Wagner, walks in and God, I shouldn't have said what I said to him, but I did. Walked in and was just giving me some grief over it. And I was already beating myself up, and I didn't need his help. And I responded with, if you can do better, why don't you fucking do it?
Oh, geez.
I had a mouth, dude. I was ready to fight.
No brain to
He
mouth.
didn't fire me. He made his brother, who was like best friends with me, made him fire me. He was crying, and I was comforting him while he fired me. He's like, "Why would you say that to my brother? Now I didn't fire you." And I'm like, "It's okay, man. I'll find more work. I'll be okay." It was Steve. He's a great guy. See, I'm reading the comments. Time is money once you mature enough to value your time and respect others' time. Yeah. And your value. You have to stand by your value. And I've done work for people, and I get really angry. Like I got into a legal fight with a comic guy. I'm not going to give his name, who lied to me. And he lied. Christopher Walken lied. I had told him that I would work for this set amount unless you got a backer. And if you got a backer, that I needed to be paid the full page amount for the book. Well, he secretly got a backer and then didn't tell me. And he slipped up while he was talking to my partner, Paul Reynolds, the guy from Scotland. And Paul immediately called me and said, "Stop all art. He lied to you. He's got a backer, and he's not paying you the full page amount." And I'd already finished the book. It wasn't colored or anything, but all artwork was done. And I went, okay. So all the artwork is sitting on this online up in the cloud, and he has access to it. But he's a lawyer in New York. He's such an idiot. He's unaware of the fact that he has the artwork, and he demands the artwork from me. I said, no, even though he already had it. I went, no, I'm not going to give it to you. And I told him, last thing I said to him, I said, "You take me to court and I'll give it to a judge. I will not hand it over to you. Go ahead, sue me. I don't care." He never did. What he did is he went to Google and he paid for ads to talk shit about me. And I'm like, I have regular customers. You're not going to hurt my business. you know, these are people I work with on a regular basis. You're the one that's the odd one out. So fuck off. And I still have that completed book sitting on my hard drive. It'll never see a day of publishing. It's a 112-page graphic novel sitting on my hard drive, will never be published because he was an asshole. He lied, and he tried to screw me out of the money that I had rightly earned. And I find it funny, you know, people. It's like because Richard Bonk and I, we got screwed really bad on a book by a guy, and that's the one that I got so depressed over. It took me so long to come back to vindicate it because man, oh man. That guy was crazy. Like it wasn't just he was an asshole; he was out of his mind. And it was a joke that, you know, when I was talking to Richard, I said he'll call me, and I don't know which version of him I'm going to get on the phone. Like, hey man, things look great, man. Let's talk some stuff. Let's be creative today. Like, okay, or you're fucking me over. You're just taking my money, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then I said it to him, and he laughed, and I'm like, that's not funny. He called me up one day and I said, hey, man, so which version am I getting today? Am I getting yelled at or am I getting love? And I'm like, I'm not joking. I'm curious because I'll hang up on you if you're fucking rude to me today. I've never asked any employee to do anything that I wasn't capable of doing myself. There you go. That's what being a good leader is. Train and guide people. Absolutely the truth, man. Absolutely the truth. When I was in the Army, I had a guy named Goodrum that I kept. Every weekend, I would put him on detail. And he got upset about it one weekend. And Kyle Fisher, my buddy Kyle Fisher, was there. And he witnessed this conversation. And Goodrum said, what? He was from Texarkana. He said, why are you always putting me on detail every weekend? I don't get to hang out with y'all until later. And I said, well, look, man, I could give it to a lot of the guys here in the platoon, but you're the only one that I trust will get the job done and done quickly. And you know, I always stick around and help you before I head out for the weekend. So just there it is. I trust you to get the job done. Oh, shucks. Okay. So he walked away, and then Kyle Fisher's like, yo, man, why do you buy that bullshit? And I went, I don't know. It's just, I love fucking with him, making him do details every weekend because I'm a dick.
You motherfucker, that is what you do to me then?
Uh-oh.
Oops. Oops.
I'm a dick. It's what I do. I do dickish things because it's funny. You know, people think, you know, I'm telling jokes to amuse them. No, my jokes are meant to amuse me. And it just happens that some of you guys find it funny too. But man,
It's Gerry.
You know, it's not a new thing. If you talk to my friends from high school, they'll tell you I was a really nice guy. But they'll also tell you, yeah, he would like say things. Get kicked out of class because I talk shit back to teachers. I remember ninth grade, first day of high school. We get to meet all our teachers and you go from class to class. It's like 20 minutes in each class. What do they call that? Orientation? Is that it? First day of high school, orientation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a full day. It's like a half day. So we go to gym class, and there's one of the gym teachers from middle school there, Mr. Taylor. He was a very nice, handsome black dude, okay? And his name was Tim Taylor, okay? I knew the names of all my teachers, first name and last. So he's doing, you know, calling out names. What do they call that? At the beginning of class, you call out the name.
Roll call.
There. Roll call. He's doing roll call. And he goes, Gerry. And I said, Tim. And he just sort of shot me a look and I went, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said my name. He goes, I did. I said, Gerry. And I went, well, Tim.
Wow.
And he caught on really quickly. He goes, Mr. Cassell. I said, Mr. Taylor. And I would do that to teachers. They had to call, if they wanted me to call them Mr. or Miss or Mrs., they had to call me by my last name, not my first name. You know, it's reciprocal. You know, respect is something given and taken.
Mm-hmm.
And I enforced that shit. My daughter did it too. I told her that story when she was in elementary school, and it really stuck. So when she got to high school, middle school actually is when she started it. enforcing that if a teacher was going to be on a last name basis with them, then she was going to be one of her last name being said. And she enforced also the pronunciation of her name, because some people would say her name wrong and it would make her mad. That's not my name. And don't call me Zoe. She'd get mad over that one. Don't call me Zoe. It's Zoe. I was so bad in school, I had the teacher and everyone else leave the class instead of being kicked out of class.
That's another level.
It's a new one, and I like it. I freaking like that. Because I've been kicked out of classes a lot of time. 9th grade geography, Mrs. Jackson, she's passes out our new books. And I open it up and I'm flipping through it, and then I raise my hand and she says, "Yes, Mr. Cassell." And I said, "So how do you pronounce the Florida here? Is this Mammy, or Miami?" And she's like, "It's Miami." I said, "No, it's Tallahassee, and you're teaching geography?" I got in trouble for that. But no, I've always been kind of a dick, not a jerk. I was always really friendly and helpful to people. I like helping people. But man, especially if somebody rubs me the wrong way, I will mess with them in just the most mean way. And you find out, it's fun to find out people's like buttons, what annoys them and frustrates them. And then you just play with that thing, like your thing.
Phrasing.
That's why I said like your thing. You get what you pay for. I see somebody saying hi to, it's Don Rangers. Oh, yeah. And you get what you pay for. My problem with like high school, I don't know about you guys, was there was this clique thing, or clique as some people say, where you've got the rich kids, and the teachers seemed to really like to talk and hang out with them. And that bugged me. They wouldn't take the time out for us poor kids. They do it with the rich kids. Shenanigans. I like that one. Takes me back to Super Troopers. I'm getting tired of your shenanigans. Next one of you says shenanigans, I'm going to pistol whip them. Hey, Farfa, what's the name of that restaurant with all the shit on the walls? What, shenanigans? Answer with a pistol. Great.
Wow.
Love that scene. So what do we want to talk about? Because I know that we had another interesting thing this week with Nelson Peltz.
Yes.
Did you want to talk about that?
We can. He was interviewed on CNBC, and basically Nelson Peltz had a few things to say. They were asking him first and foremost why he was doing what he was doing, and he put it out there plainly. Hey, look, I attempted to do something last year, and they assured me that they would fix how they were doing things. They would make things better, and it's not. So I'm back again, And they had a hard time believing that as of now, it looks like he's got 10% of Disney stock. And based on that, it looks like he actually can get his 2 seats. So he made that pretty clear. He's still going for his 2 seats. For those of you who really just have bought the Disney line of BS, hook, line, and sinker, you got to understand something. Doesn't matter how much of a fan you are of Disney. Understand this. Business-wise, things have not been good. And blaming Bob Chapek isn't going to get you anywhere, because the problems predate Chapek becoming chairman. Then you go 11 months, and then they continue after Bob Chapek's no longer there. This is bad business, is really what it is. And if you are a Disney fan that does not own any stock in Disney, you really have no idea what's going on. This is just bad business, period. And the only company that's doing way worse than Disney right now is Paramount. I'm telling you. If you are a Paramount Plus subscriber and you're someone that loves Paramount Plus, hate to tell you this, but your days are numbered as far as that service is concerned, because I don't think Paramount Plus is going to last another year. That's how bad things are for Paramount financially. And Nelson Peltz laid it out during his appearance. You know, it looks like Universal did very well for themselves. Heck, he even pointed out that Warner Brothers did very well for themselves. It's like everybody did well with the exception of Disney and Paramount.
Yeah, because these are the studios that try to get away from the excessively woke stuff that they're doing in order to cater to a wider audience instead of a narrow audience bandwidth. So, but you've got like Paramount's in trouble, and they're already putting out season 2 of Halo, and I know it's can fail again. It's not they didn't do well the first season, and I'm like, and you're doing the exact same thing again this season. You're taking your main character and turning him into a secondary character.
Yep.
But it's better than that. Now Master Chief is just his reanimated corpse powered by the mind of Cortana. Oh, that's
geez.
beautiful.
I mean, it's all variations
That's
of the
terrible.
same thing. It's all variations on the same exact thing. You
I thought
cannot
the first one was bad, but this is next level bad. Like, who wants to see that?
you cannot take an IP that has a male lead and was made specifically to have a male lead and just switch it over to have a female lead. You can't do it. Sorry, you can't.
Well, you look at the new series. Anna and I watched the first episode. And let me tell you, it's actually pretty good, despite the really bad CG animals. Really bad.
Yes.
We watched episode 1 of True Detective, and it's a compelling story. But the secondary female, I don't know what she is. She's local police. No, Highway
She's a
Patrol. She's
trooper.
Highway Patrol. She's a terrible character. And I wouldn't care if she was played by a guy. It's a terrible character. Very unlikable.
Mhm.
And
Don't forget what they
there's
did to her
nothing-
boyfriend. He's female.
yeah, just that whole scene. Oh my God. That scene.
Cringe.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's so bad.
It's terrible. Like if a guy did that to a girl, you would hate them.
Wow.
And so but still, I'm enjoying the show. And then I found out like the next day after watching it that apparently she hates men.
The actress, yeah.
Like in real life, she really despises men.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is it with Hollywood wanting to hire these people? Especially with what's her name?
Jodie Foster.
The Jodie Foster showing how base she is. And she's one of the executives on this. And I'm like, why did you hire her? She's problematic. You know, hiring problematic people is something that Hollywood has always avoided until the last decade. And they just want to keep hiring them and stick behind them going, yeah,
Well-
what they're saying.
Well, that's because you have these companies now. Again, Hollywood is being run by tech companies now. So every solution they come up with is more of a tech company solution to what should happen with Hollywood, and is not an entertainment industry / Hollywood studio solution.
Right.
That's the problem. It would be like if someone who in high school was just a bookworm, never played sports, nothing.
Right.
And they suddenly found themselves somehow coaching the high school football team. Well, I'm sure if they even read a book on how football works, it's one thing to read a book, it's another thing to have experience. And that's what you have currently. You have a bunch of people running around trying to use solutions and problem-solving abilities that were gained in one area, completely different from where they are working in right now, and expecting that same thing to yield results positively in a completely different area. And that's part of the reason why Paramount is failing. That's a huge part of the reason why Disney's failing, because you have a chairman who surrounded himself with board members who basically have no real experience in the entertainment industry, so that he can basically get away with making whatever suggestions because they'll have to go with it. I mean, he's the guy that's running the largest entertainment, entity right now. They figure, oh, good, he has to know what he's doing. Bob Iger is basically going to retire one way or another real soon. He's a guy in his 70s. Ironically, so is Kathleen Kennedy. She's a guy in his 70s. But it's just I'm sorry, I had to take the shot. But no, the thing is that you can't keep trying to use solutions that you came up with in one area and hope that it actually is the solution that you need in a completely different area. It really doesn't always work that way. And especially when you're looking at the kind of money that Disney has lost just in the last year. I mean, this is what is mind-boggling about all this. If someone had told any of us 10 years ago that Disney would lose $2 billion in a year, we would have all said that person's definitely fired. They're gone.
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Well, going back to with what I said about Les Moonves and Alex Kurtzman, that if he had stayed in power and hadn't left, that he would have fired Alex Kurtzman.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't tolerate the loss of money.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, he probably would have kept Kurtzman around one more year, which would have led you into season 2 of Discovery. And as soon as the ratings started coming down from that, he would have been let go, because it was that immediate. And again, I know Kingsport Cal, I know people that like the show. I'm not saying you can't like the show. You can like anything you want to like. What you need to deal with is the reality of how successful something is. Right. Nobody is buying this. Nobody. Netflix is the reason why you have Discovery. And Netflix didn't even like it.
They had once you were able to see some of the numbers coming in, because we had to, thanks to Valiant Renegade and Culture Casino, we were able to find out what some of the numbers were, and it was just abysmal.
Yeah.
And they released it for free on CBS.
Oh, geez,
and it immediately, nobody was watching it. Nobody watched it. Nielsen ratings were like, no one's watching it.
It got beat by game show reruns. It got beat by arguably the worst show on television at that time was Batwoman in the CW. And Batwoman beat Discovery.
And yet the show still has fans. And I've been in discussions with some of them, and in the end I always tell them, it's okay to like bad stuff. Just don't try to convince people that it's good.
That's right.
That's good. It's because even I know when I like stuff that's bad, I know that it's bad.
Yes.
And I go, it's a guilty pleasure. I apologize.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that it's shit, but I like it. I enjoyed it. By the way, I wanted to point this out. This is some artwork that my buddy Richard Bonk did. I had to censor it because it is a nude, topless, but it's beautiful artwork. Look at this. And he is the one that's going to be drawing the flashback scene from Vindicated.
I'm so excited for this.
Tell me that's not cool looking artwork, man. He is such a good artist, man.
Dude.
I love the way he drags that bar right there where you can't. Oh, that's...
Yeah, that was me. I drew that.
Dude, have you not respect for your audience? That had to be Gibbs's faces.
Yes.
Not a blackbird.
How dare you?
Come on, play it. Martin, you have that audio, right?
How dare you?
There you go.
It's on the soundboard.
You know what, Kingsport Cal, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to accuse you of being a Star Trek fan. It's just that, again, this is what
is accused of being a Star Trek fan. That's funny.
Yeah, I like that.
I just
love heavy metal.
I just want to say that the current version of the Star Trek brand that Alex Kurtzman is dealing in,
it's a financial loss.
It is a major
failure.
It's not just a financial loss.
Nobody likes it. There's so few people like it. It's negligible to even say that somebody does like it.
Yep.
So it's being argumentative. But here, I want to show some of the started comments. D. Bud Martin says, so we should call Gerry Mr. Backdoor.
Wow.
Because of the whole being called Mr. Cassell in high school. I will tell you something funny. Mrs. Jergowski was our one of our biology teachers in high school. And she had this thing. She was so proud. She would do calligraphy envelope, put our names on there. And she would put our report card inside this calligraphy written. She loved her calligraphy. She was such a sweet lady. I really liked her. And she would, if you were a female, it would be mistress. And if you were a male, it would be master. And Rodney Bates was one of my buddies in class. And she called out his name, Master Bates.
Oh my God.
And I fucking died laughing. God rest his soul, because he died right out of high school. He ended up going to work for the city. He was like 19, I think, maybe 20 at the most. And he got out of a vehicle for a down power line. And it connected with the vehicle. When he stepped out, he grounded and it killed him instantly.
Oh, fuck.
One of my buddies from high school, terrible death.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mr. Backdoor. Should he get a video for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he should.
All right, Martin, give him a video.
Like, wouldn't you know that back door would trigger a trap door?
Yeah, and look where we landed.
So, Read by Nature just reminded of Film Threat's tweet about taking a boys brand, Star Wars, and trying to turn it into a girl brand. Well, this is interesting, because this is something Keith and I have talked about ad nauseum, because the whole point of buying Star Wars and Marvel was because they had done the research at Disney and found that girls stuck with Disney into adulthood, whereas boys at the age of around 12, right around puberty, would stop watching Disney. They weren't interested anymore. They wanted to watch boy stuff. So, like Star Wars and Marvel stuff. So the whole idea behind buying Marvel and buying Star Wars was to find a way to keep the boys watching. And then immediately they just threw the baby out with the bathwater and forgot why they did it. So there you go, Reed. Because Keith and I have talked about this a lot, about how Disney screwed the pooch with that one.
Yeah, but end the comment.
What's that?
Read the last part of the comment.
Yeah, it's one of the most costly decisions in Hollywood. It is. They went in at $4.5 billion, then started releasing films that kept increasing the debt and would only slice off a little bit off the top of what was owed, but the level kept going up. So they've never been in the black with after buying Star Wars. Indiana Jones tanked. Han Solo, a solo story, tanked. The only thing, the Star Wars sequels tanked. So just basically, the Force Awakens and Rogue One were the two films that did well. And they didn't do well again until they did the series Mandalorian financially. But with those three wins, it's not enough. They still were in the red, in debt. When you hear somebody say that they were in the red, that means they never left debt. They were still not, they had not made money yet. Turned a profit.
And now with all of the problems with their merchandising and all those toys.
Yeah, it's gotten worse and worse.
Oh my goodness. It literally is over these last 5 years. Gerry and I have been watching this just get worse and worse and worse. It is not getting any better. It's sad. I mean, seriously, it is beyond sad at this point. It's starting to affect certain characters and their related toys now. Toys related to, like, say, Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan series. Yeah, none of those toys are selling. You really want to know the real reason why this is related to that. You want to know the real reason why William Shatner has basically just become the whipping boy for all of that Star Trek content when they make the posters and stuff and keep him off? It's because Captain Kirk, as played by Shatner, is part of the brand that still sells as far as merchandising related to Star Trek. He is the last.
And they're trying to drive it in a different direction. It's not working.
It's not working. People don't want to buy it. People buy what they want to buy. It doesn't matter what your feelings on it are. People buy what they want to buy. And if people want to buy a Captain Kirk figure and they would rather not get a figure with any of the other characters.
And not looking for Chris Pine, they're looking for William Shatner, Kirk.
That's right. And it's the same thing with Star Trek. People buy what they want to buy. They want Han. They want Luke. They want Leia. They want Lando. And they want Chewbacca along with R2 and C-3PO. That's what they want.
That's C-3PO without the orange leg
arm.
Or whatever, the red arm.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
They want the original as he was. You're spot on, buddy. Here, Zach said this one, spot on, Gerry Anima. She graped that guy in True Detective. It's what it really was.
That scene was so bad.
If it was a guy doing it, imagine the writing of letters that would have occurred.
And the whole toothbrush thing, it was like they went about, how stupid do you want this scene to be? And the writers were like, yes.
Yeah. So, in King's Forecast says, I thought this Pop Culture was a safe space.
It is for sanity. It is a safe space for sanity because we're not here to coddle you. That's not why we're here. If it were our job to coddle you, then here's my version of coddling. What are you doing, boy? What are you doing?
This is the house of tough love.
Yes.
By the way, I need to play 2 videos. First one.
Fuck you, Carl.
Yeah.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
That is definitely a film.
I love that scene.
You're such a diva, Tim.
That film could not get made today. I'm sorry. That film wouldn't even come close to being made today.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, with the recent, by the way, the mentioning, I know that they're going to lose a license if they don't make a Star Trek film, but I still don't think they're anywhere near making a Star Trek film. Paramount's in financial trouble. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Look, Kurtzman's just going to have to come back to JJ and say, I can help you raise the money. Here's some knee pads, and here's some throat lozenges, and here's some...
Don't forget to cup the balls. Don't forget to cup the balls, man. Right, Keith? I love that scene. And again, that's another quote from Super Troopers, one of my favorite dirty, filthy comedies ever made. Don't forget to cup the balls.
It's amazing to me that you still have people that are kind of shocked that this stuff isn't doing well because you went on social media and you have found a bunch of people that seem to be excited about it. It's like social media. Yeah, okay. That's good. You went to social media to try to figure out what's popular, what's doing well financially. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Hey, we're on social media right now. Give me
It kind of reminds me of that scene with Ian Malcolm, Keith,
Yes.
where he's talking about scientists, with working for Engine, and he's like, your scientists so concerned with if they could do a thing, they didn't ask the question, should they do a thing? And it's the same thing we're seeing with Hollywood. It's like they're so concerned about if they can do this rather than, why they should do it.
I'm telling you right now, Netflix is a really good example of a company that you and I have been following since we first started all of this.
Yep.
All the financial up and downs they went through. They seem to now have become the company. Look, they're still big. I will say this, and I will continue to repeat it. At the beginning of us doing this show, I even said I'd be surprised if Netflix remained.
We're coming up on our anniversary, by the way.
Yeah, coming up in 5, right? It's big 5
in February.
Wow.
In February is our 5th anniversary for doing this show.
Oh, wow. We need something special for that.
I said
this is the longest relationship I've ever had. No.
I said it would be amazing if Netflix were still in business in a few years because of how much debt they were incurring.
Yeah, because when they bought the studio, that was like a last minute decision, dude.
Yeah.
To turn themselves into a production studio, because they were having trouble understanding, well, we can't just buy things and slap our logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
And no, you have to produce it. You have to produce the making of the film. And then they're like, oh shit. And then last minute, that's what they did. They bought a studio. And they were already hurting for money.
Yeah, they when we first started the show, they were already down $3 billion in debt because they had borrowed $2 billion 2 years before, and an additional $1 billion the year before we started the show. And so, I was saying on the show, it's like you can't keep incurring a lot of just debt like that and not have anything bad happen. And yet, here we are. Netflix is being Netflix, and it looks like both Paramount and most specifically Warner's and Disney have decided, yeah, we could do some business with Netflix. We're going to put our stuff on there. Now you're going to start seeing a lot of stuff. Paramount's going to have a lot of stuff going. That's the reason why Star Trek Prodigy is now on Netflix. But that is a joint venture between Paramount and Nickelodeon. That was never on their books. They found a way of producing Star Trek without having to pay for Star Trek overall. That's the whole thing about Alex Kurtzman. He tries to he's that one guy that that always tries to get other people to buy stuff. He's the wimpy. He's trying to get you to buy him a hamburger all the time.
I'll gladly pay you back on Tuesday.
Right.
And in the immortal words of Stewie,
whatever helps you sleep at night, bitch.
When it comes down to it, and this video is true too, because all fans want is for Disney to respect them.
Yes.
And this video is basically Christopher Walken is the fan base.
Oh, yeah. You're talking to me all wrong. It's the wrong tone.
There you go.
Pretty much. And again,
that's how we feel about him.
You see everyone in the entertainment media that is continuing to carry water for these companies. And you got to remember, they're not carrying it for the traditional media companies. They're carrying it for these tech companies that are running all of the traditional media. Okay? They actually...
Gap.
Hello, Cap. They actually think that somehow magically these companies are going to be able to turn everything around and everybody's just going to suddenly wake up one day and think, wow, KK was right. I really do like this Ray Palpatine person. And Reva's great, and
and the recent rumor of that she's going to die. at the beginning of the film. I'm like, you guys don't even know how to take care of the stuff you create. No, we're not interested. But we've reached the end of the show, guys. Last thoughts on this, Keith, before we go.
Again, they just need to stop. If you are, look, anybody between the ages of 19 and 25, what your parents have tried to tell you about what real life is like, we're not doing it to be mean. We're doing it to help you. And for those of you in the entertainment industry, understand something. If you or someone that you know is under the grand delusion that you could put 2 years into anything and suddenly make top dollar, you should understand that your parents were really glad to get rid of you.
Gotta go.
And while they love you, you're an idiot. And
we love you, but you've got to go.
There you go.
Exactly. So, hey, I want to thank D-Bud, Martin, E. Clay Thomason, Mr. 6 John Clark, Ganatsky, Zax, a.k.a. Kyle, Parrothead, Penny, Kingsport Cal, Andy Morrow, Don Ranger Power, Reed by Nature, K. Roberts, Tim, FKH2C205, 2005. He's 005. Kitty Bear, Das Wolfen, the Peter Venkman fan site, a.k.a. Venkman's Girl, and Gap After Dark. Thanks a lot, guys. I do want to share this quick clip before I go of when I went to the Commodore concert. It was fun.
Well, about time for me to be hitting the old dusty trail. I like your hat. Can't get out that way.
That's it.
That's it, guys. We're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow with Marathon Man. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite films. And it is absolutely another film that inspired a lot of stuff that's in Vindicated. So see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night and be safe. Oh, shit. I forgot. I'm going to be on Friday nights tonight at 9 o'clock.
And
yeah.
Tonight at 8 p.m. Central is John's slot with Gaming Night with John.
Oh, yeah. Gaming Night with John.
We got 3 shows now on Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All for you guys.
I don't know. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, Friday nights, and that's KNIGHTS. I'll be joining those comic guys tonight to talk about Vindicated. Hope everybody has a safe Friday. Go watch yourself some Doomcock or Nerdrotic, man. Have some fun.
Bye.
That's it. Show's over.
What the? Mow, 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 mow. Everybody's heard. Bonk, bonk.